Hello, everyone. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here at Adventures of the Heart, building wisdom through experience. And we really like the wisdom that's coming in these days. Um, Today, with my partner, Lynn Hawkins, here in the Adventures of the Heart, we have a heart venture that we have going on, and we love bringing people into heart venture with us. And today our guest is Joci James. But before we get to Joci, I know Lynn always has some wonderful things to start us off with and to introduce our guest because she knows this woman so well because she's really been working a lot with Joci, and so have I. But we've been just having just a joyful, incredible, awesome time with this woman and helping her also bring in all her wisdom as the life strength detective. So meanwhile, come on in, my partner. Here comes Lynn Hawkins.
Thanks, Cynthia. And I would have so much more to say if I hadn't lost my voice this week. So I'm really disappointed because I wanted to say so much more than I know I'm going to say. And with that in mind, I just have to say I'm welcoming all of you who are joining us, whether you're live anywhere in the world, by replay, however you're watching us. We are going to have a ball tonight. And regardless of how I sound, I am so excited about tonight. Cynthia said, I am Lynn Hawkins. I'm the founder and dean of the P3 Academy of Social Entrepreneurship. And I am one of your co-hosts. And I'm just thrilled to be here, to be able to share this time in this space with a dear friend who adopted me as her daughter. And I certainly have adopted her as my mom and totally can see my mom and her getting together and doing things that we're doing in this space together, learning together, growing together, and even more than that, sharing the wisdom that each of us brings to the table. I'm so excited to be here with dear Joci James, your life strengths detective. And I just want to start off, I'm going to throw the ball back to Cynthia, but when we get started, I want to find out from Joci how she got on this thing called being the life strengths detective. Ah, so
Yeah.
Cynthia, throwing it back to you, girlfriend. Tell
Okay.
everybody who you are, what you do, and why this is so important to you.
Well, I'm Cynthia Gardner ONeill, and I have a business that I started called the Center for Loving Consciousness. And it is to help educate people on loving consciousness and especially bringing it into wellness providers, which your wellness providers are all about people like Joci James. She's here to teach loving consciousness from all the wisdom that she has had through her 88 years of being on this planet. And so with all that, I also have created my own programs and courses that are called Harmonics. Now I know Joci has a program of her own, and she loves to teach about discovering the best of you. And she uses that as the life strength coach. So we, have really established a wonderful relationship with her. We feel that she has so much to share, so much to give, so much to bring to people's lives. And tonight, and has this sense of humor that you are all going to catch tonight, and you're going to catch it, and you're going to be laughing and passing it on and telling everybody about this experience that you're having here. So, Joci, as with that question that Lynn asked you, how did you become a life strength detective? And also first, please tell everybody about yourself and that big thing of who you are.
Well, I became a life strengths detective because I felt that we all are searching for the best in ourselves. And we sometimes we have it buried in a chest, a treasure chest down deep. But actually, we were born with such beautiful strengths and talents that are really our signature strengths. And so I got into calling myself the Life Strengths Detective because that's what I really do, is help you to uncover and discover the best of you and to elevate yourself to your life purpose, to your joy in life, to be able to enjoy the now, and so that you can thrive, as we're talking about tonight. Our subject is talking about thriving while we're going through this journey.
Yes, and tonight we are talking about thriving, surviving, and yes, dying. And this is about the wisdom about living. There's so much that we go through during life that we've been kind of conditioned to kind of just survive. And I think many of us are learning how to thrive these days. But one of the things that keeps us in that surviving mode is around death. And, either that living or dying thing, which is inevitable, but sometimes we take it so, it's a big fear that we all have. And so tonight we're gonna talk, a little bit about all three of those things because they are important parts of who we are, how we live our lives, how we can really create a better life. No matter how great your life is, it can always get better. And I always say, that we're born with an agreement to receive all life has to give and to transform it in something even better. Why? Because you can. You know what? Joci James, she has done that. She has taken her life and transformed it into something even better, and she wants to help all of you transform it into something even better. So we're going to start off now with this life strength coach, Joci James, and she's going to help us get our strength to really start thriving in this world. What would you like to start off with to tell everybody here and about yourself and about what it takes to really thrive?
Well,
What
I
kind of
think
brought you into this place?
yeah, we've been hearing more and more about being vulnerable and just being ourselves rather than having two or three faces that we have a home face, we have an outdoor face, and we have all these personalities. And one of the things I'd like to confess tonight is that sometimes I've been known to stretch the truth, and I stretched the truth on my age. Actually, I won't be 88 until June. So,
A,
yeah,
a whole 2 months from now, right?
right. So, I'm closer to 88 than I am 87. I think that's backwards. I can't even count backwards. So I have to stop and think. But talking about thriving and surviving, the first, I'd say 50 years of my life at least, it was all about surviving. And it was simply surviving and doing what our parents had taught us, our society had taught us. um, the years that I remember most about the struggle of surviving was, of course, if you can do the math, I was born in 1927, and that was a really, really hard time for all of the United States society. We were just entering the Great Depression when that people really were hungry, starving. There was just no jobs, no money. Things, the big money was crashing, and we thought we had a big crash in 2008, which is pretty recent, but that crash was devastating. So we came out of that with I guess, a mind of surviving and just trying to feed the families and have a roof over our heads. So, I've come the span from that to having not enough to having too much. Now, I'm saying I'm not rich, but what I'm saying is our society has gotten to the point of we are so, I guess, centered on material things that it takes us to work all the time. And so therefore, we really are not in the now we don't have time to stop and enjoy. So that's what I'm really about, is really helping people to understand the gifts and the um, all the glorious things that we have, and to start to think about maybe we don't need some of the things that we think we do. That would be a trade-off that would help us to relax and enjoy life, and really look at what treasures
Wow.
we have surrounding us.
Wow, that is so true.
And
You
it's,
know, I
it's the gap, that we say, or the dash, living that dash.
Yes.
There's a span between the day we were born and the day we die, and that dash in between that's on our tombstone, that is what we're doing now, is living in that dash. So when we think about it, when you wake up in the morning and your first thought is you have so much more to do than you can possibly get done, then maybe we might look at, okay, what are my priorities here? And that's something that I think that we all can back up and look at. And I'm kind of, I guess, getting off here, but what I'm saying is that I've seen where we've had not enough, and I mean starving, not enough, to so much plenty around us.
It's so key what you're saying, Josie, because, and I was going to mention it as well when you did, that time in the dash, that's our life. That's where we are and have the space of learning and growing. And, if we choose making a difference, it truly happens in the dash. And, when you think about the way that most of our society is now, especially the American society, we've been on a journey that has taken us into valuing material wealth so much more than we value relationships, and so much more than we value even family. And, there's such sweetness and simplicity. And I do a lot of, bringing people back full circle to the beginning. And even in the times that you're talking about, community came together to help each other. You had communities, um, meetings, and you had block parties. You had, let's meet at the schoolhouse and do the whatever, the Friday night fish fry bash, and it was truly about relationship.
And I think
And
we're coming around to that more now, and it's a wonderful thing to see that we are really understanding how valuable relationships are, and how important it is for us to be present for each other. And Lynn, you had a show today at noon that was so right on, and that hopefully we can be the ambassadors to spread that word, that we can all help each other. And this is what I talk about talking to when I'm talking about helping each other. What I mean by that is that if when we discover our own inner strengths, our inborn strengths, then that strengthens us to help others. Now we may go all of our life, or part of our life, saying, well, I can't do this and I can't do that because that just wasn't the what I was given. But there's somebody in your community that can do that. Just like Lynn and Cynthia have come into my community and helped me so much with the technology part of the message I'm trying to get out. And they just came to my rescue. And I'm so grateful and so thankful for that.
well, that has been our pleasure for sure, because you are the kind of person that, I mean, with your level, with the wisdom that you desire to share to help others, and the life experiences that you've had, when people think about, I'm this age and, now it's time to retire, and then what do I do? Do you know that the statistics around retirement actually relate that almost 50% of people who retire die within the next 5 years of their life? That's half of the people that say, I'm going to stop working at age 55. They don't know who they are or what they're doing in the world. And with what it is that you're bringing in your message and in your work, tell us a little bit about what Discovering the Best of You is all about.
Well, I'm writing a course now, and I have it almost finished, thanks to Lynn. And it's about discovering the best of you. And the first one is an introductory course. It's called Discovering the Best of You, the 4Ds. And that is helping you to understand how you can take a personal assessment. I know most of you have been in corporate world and you've taken many assessments, but most often those are about business and how you relate to others in the workplace. This one is a personal assessment that reveals to you your signature strengths. And by that I mean these are the strengths that were given to you at birth. It's your fingerprint. I like to think it's the forever fingerprint because it's yours alone, and this is how you can know that your fingerprint is what your gift can be to others, and it can be your imprint on everyone else. And so we go through that reveal, and then so oftentimes we start things and we don't know how to take action. So what the course helps you to do is to understand your strengths, and then you can define them so that you know what strengths you have that will apply here or there when you're doing a project or whatever you're attempting to do. And then you can discover them by designing. You design what it is that you want to do. And the next one is to deliver. And that way you can share them with others to help them.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
Now, I thought it was pretty cool the way that you guys came up with how we were introducing this to the world. When you get the call, how do you answer? How do you actually say, this is who I am, and this is how I'm showing up, and this is how I'm on purpose? And I love it from the aspect of you get the phone call and you choose not to answer it. What happens then? You're in the dash, you made the choice, but wait, I'm not quite there yet. Um,
Well, yeah, I think I've just got a message that my battery is running low. I don't know if that means that somebody has called and my battery's running low on my phone, or if it's on my computer, or if it's on my iPad, or if it's on. I'm just saying all that because it actually did tell me my battery's running low.
well,
So
let me
obviously
ask you this question.
I'm not plugged in, but it came up just as you said, how do you answer the phone? Or how do you answer if someone's calling? And if the line is busy, then you're going to miss whatever it was that was. So that means what the message there is just to be aware and present. I know in this time of our lives we do all texting, and that way we don't have to answer the phone or we don't have to be bothered by a conversation. There's also a movement going around where we're going to stop some of that and start reconnecting and start feeling and having a conversation face to face, because and that's another thing that's happened because our lives are so busy that, oh, if mom calls she may talk 10 minutes. I don't have 10 minutes. I've got to get here and I've got to get there. So mom has to wait until I might have 10 minutes next weekend. So excuse me just a minute, I've got to plug my computer in.
Okay.
All right. Well, and I'm going to speak to that because so here's about even thriving and surviving and things like that. and relationships, and having that value with your family, with your friends, and like Lynn and I, we call these heart ventures. So what it came down to for me, like with my kids, and communicating with them, even myself, I find myself, being busy and doing all the things that I'm doing. And one of the things we realized that we really needed to do for each other is take ourselves off the hook of feeling guilty for not being able to communicate as much as we'd like to. And one of the things I would say to even my own mother, when she would sometimes give me a hard time about not communicating as well much, I'd always say, Mom, it doesn't mean I love you any less. So, one of the things that we've been given, that we've been conditioned with, is this guilt thing. And like, we'll guilt our kids into coming to see us, and that's not a really good way to spend the time with your children, is in guilt mode. So, I want myself and my kids and everybody, I said, you weren't born to please me, and I want my kids to be happy. I want them to be doing what's right for them. I want them to be themselves. I don't want to punish them for being who they are. I want to give them the freedom to be who they are, and to be honest with me and say, Mom, I got this thing going on, and I love you. I still love you. Doesn't mean I love you any less, but I have my life going on. And be okay with that. Be unconditional with that. I don't want to be attached to them. I don't want them to be attached to me. I want them to be free to be who they are. And so that's one of the things as far as what it means to either thrive or survive. Let people go, be who they are. And a lot of times we get really attached to how other people do things, and we take it personally. So I know, we've lost Joci here for a second. Hopefully she'll be able to come back on. We always have, there's always something that's going on with this technology. So, and it doesn't mean I love her any less that she's had to disconnect from us. So,
and it's only visually and auditorially, still connected from the heart.
Yes, we're still, that's where we have the attachment, maybe. It is the heart ventures, the heart connection. We're always connected in the heart, no matter where we are. And so just to bring up that, the heart is 60 times more amplified than any parts of our body, and 5,000 times more electromagnetic. That means what you're putting out from your heart is coming back to you 100 times plus. 100 times plus. And that's what we can measure. I really feel that our heart is what connects to everything and everyone, farther and beyond into that next realm. I believe we can have relationships with those who have passed on. And I won't say believed, I know that that's possible, because I have that relationship with my father, who died when I was 7. He's with me all the time. I just have a different kind of relationship with him. And, because he's still connected in my heart. He's still here in the energy of life. And so, since we have Joci, who's popped off, and hopefully she's going to come back in here, that she's not having too many troubles, in coming back in, we're going to continue on about, talking about that thriving, that surviving. And I just touched on a little bit of the dying thing, but, and relationships, and having those value relationships, and not taking on, other people's stuff, and really standing in our own truth to be who we are, so that we can thrive, and also we can allow our kids to thrive, our friendships to thrive, and our business relationships to thrive. If we're attached to everything that they do, and we make it about ourselves, we're going to have a difficult time, and we're just going to be in that survival mode. What do you think about that, Lynn?
It's a really good point you bring up, because survival mode is a lower level frequency. Thriving is a higher level frequency, and of course, dying, your frequency changes completely.
Yeah.
And to the extent that dying changes the frequency, there are a lot of people who really believe that the frequency is extinguished versus just going to another plane. And those in the religious religious thinking see that energy going to heaven or wherever. And then there are those of us who know that it goes to another dimension. And in that next dimension, because we've had these heart connections, we are still connected. And, even if some people believe that that other dimension is heaven indeed, and those heart connections are still there. The truth is that we are infinite beings of light, born of an infinite being of light. We create infinite beings of light, children who create infinite beings of light, who create infinite beings of light. So we all
Lots of light.
infinite beings of light, and infinite means no beginning and no end. We just keep the cycle going. And speaking of keeping that cycle going, I think there are more people who are familiar with, the familial traits being passed on, and, the whole concept of I was born with this DNA and I'm going to die with this DNA, except that it has now been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that DNA can be changed. And to the degree that there are people who may have been born into this being of light with certain DNA traits of, obesity or cancer or, whatever. And most of the time we think of it in the realm of dis-ease, because if it's a gift, we look at it in a totally different way. And, since we are talking about this prospect of death, and the transformation into a different form of light source energy in a different dimension, um, speak to your perspective. I know that one of the things that you and I are commissioned to do is to help people really awaken to this new knowledge of, the heart and the heart connection, of the whole infinite being of light, truth, and, the idea of death being a natural state of the human condition. People are born, people die. People are so afraid of death. And, there are so many more things I could say about that, but let me just put that on the table to have you kind of continue the conversation with that.
Okay. This is from a very loving heart because, being in your heart, first of all, you were talking about DNA and how the DNA does change. Well, the DNA changes because of your heart, because of whenever you're in the coherency, the harmonics of the heart, you're in that unconditional love that transforms consciousness. It transforms your DNA. And they've even shown this, they had some studies they did with the Tibetan monks. And the Tibetan monks who were incarcerated and tortured by the Chinese. And back in that day, there came a time when many of them died and many of them were set free. And they were set free because the Chinese were the ones who were being tortured because they were, trying to torture and degrade and take these Tibetan monks and trying to break them, and instead the Tibetan monks stayed compassionate with their enemies. And so the Chinese finally set them free because they were suffering by, doing these terrible things to these people. They were the ones getting sick and dying and things like that because of hurting another person. And so anyways, these Tibetan monks today are living beyond their hundreds. And they're living beyond their hundreds vibrant, youthful, happy, healthy, after going through these horrendous tragedies and trauma. And most of the time when you see people who have gone through those kind of things, they age very quickly and they fall by the, they have an early death sometimes. And so there was a study that was done because they wanted to know, how did these Tibetan monks go through this trauma and come out to be living beyond their hundreds, happy and vibrant and healthy. So when they did the physical studies and everything, they found out that these Tibetan monks were still making stem cells. Now we're told as we get older that we stop making stem cells, or we make less and less and less and less. Well, that's because we put ourselves under stress. These are our choices that we have and that we make. And these Tibetan monks, what they chose was something that I think we're all moving into finally in this time of our lives, this time on earth that is coming in. And what happened was, during this this research, Dalai Lama was there, and he asked one of the Tibetan monks, he said, what was the hardest thing that you went through while you were incarcerated and going through this trauma? And one of the monks replied, he said, my greatest fear was losing compassion for my enemy. Now I want you to breathe that in, into your heart. Instead of hating them, instead of, constantly living with resentment and the guilt and shame, and I call them the 8 demons that separate us from our love, judgment, all those kind of things, they continue to love. They continue to have compassion. They continue to be kind and to treat each other in a loving, unconditional way. And guess what happens to them? They live a vibrant, healthy, happy life, because that's where they live from. Their state of being is love. And I always say, if the state of your being, let it be love, because love transforms consciousness. If we're making stem cells, the stem cells come up, and the stem cells, guess what? They're non-determined to where they can come and replenish the body. And we're constantly being, our cells are constantly being changed over all the time and renewed. And guess what? We can renew ourselves and keep ourselves youthful and healthy by being in a place of unconditional love with each other and accepting of each other and thriving. And that's how we thrive instead of just survive. You're just surviving if you're constantly judging and pointing the finger at others, or wanting them to do it your way, or whatever, or punishing yourself, or any of those things. It's about loving yourself and forgiving. Forgiveness is one of the biggest things that sets a person free. That takes you out of the jail. No matter if you're in jail or wherever you are, just forgiving and loving one another will transform wherever you're at. And
forgiveness.
Yeah, so that right there kind of touched on everything, because they don't fear death. Their greatest fear was losing compassion for their enemy. They weren't thinking about dying. They were thinking about living in a place of loving consciousness. That's where we all should go. Because if you're going into what you focus on, you bring more of. So if you're focusing on the hardship that's in your life, or you're focusing on death, guess what? It'll come faster than you can imagine, because we create very quickly exactly what we focus on. It comes right into our life. And if that's what's in your heart, like I said, 60 times more amplified, what's in your heart is going out, and you're getting back 100 times plus. Okay? So focus on love, focus on compassion, focus on kindness. And I say to my boys, there's a lot of good people in the world. If you can't find one, be one.
That's a great lesson. It's a really great lesson. And that's why you want to surround yourself with the people who are in that type of relationship with you. Then you don't have to go far. You don't have, you eliminate the working hard to find what it is that you're looking for. You are in it. And if you can't be in it, be it so that it then finds you. And we talk about the law of attraction, and Joci even talks about the law of attraction. When you identify your inner strengths, you then can attract those who value those strengths and, will decide that they want to be in relationship with you just as much as you with them because they see the connection and they see the value that you each bring to the party. And I know in business, we used to talk a lot about, and I'm very much guilty of this, and not guilty in a bad way, but because in some ways this was a good practice, was examining who you were and what you brought to the table. What you brought to the table in the way of doing business. If I have this skill set, if I have this knowledge base, what do you have? What are you bringing to the table? And, I was one who took that out into the realm of friendship relationships. I'm bringing this to the table. What are you bringing to the table? Does it work? If it doesn't work, then we need to go find another table. You find a table, I'll find it. We'll find out what works. But when you don't even know what you're bringing to the party, when you don't even know what you're bringing to the table, it's hard. And you do find yourself by happenstance just being, what somebody else said that you were, who somebody else said that you were, what quality somebody else said that they saw that, they may not even know you. I used to really think it's strange when somebody said, "Oh, I know how you are. You're just like this." It's like, you have met me once. How do you know me? You don't know me. And they're right. How can you know someone? It's just like, a lot of times with relationships, we tend to categorize people. All men, the cliche, all men are alike, all women are alike, all, African American people are alike, all Mexicans are alike, all this, totally not true. And then, by the same token, people had this idea of all of this kind of people were the best kind of people. And it's like, no, you have bad people in every kind of group. You have good people in every kind of group. You have amazing people in every kind of group. And, you have to decide what kind of person you are going to be. Are you going to be okay? We talked about this too. Are you going to be good? Okay. Are you going to be great? Or are you going to be amazing? People look at, and I'm speaking about being in this dash time frame. Are you one who says, "Well, it's okay. I'm the average Joe or Jane, and I don't muck up the waters. I don't stir up a lot of dust. I'm the average Joe, average Jane." And then you got somebody who says, "I'm a rebel Rob or a rebel Roberta." And I like it that way because I really feel like I'm living. And, it's the difference between average and above average, or in some instances, even called extraordinary, or average or ordinary, and then you're extraordinary. And I heard Les Brown one time talk about his definition of average. When I heard that, I thought, you know what? I'm done with being average. And I'll tell you this, and then I'll go to the next level above average, which is where I stayed for a long time. So he said average is the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And I thought, well, geez, the best of the worst, the bottom of the barrel, and I'm the best of that. No. Or the best of the worst, top of the barrel, and nah. So then you go to the next level, and it's like there's a level in between the best of the worst and then extraordinary. And I played in that space, still hiding in the shadows, still, muting my own voice, still showing up in fear because I was thinking somebody might not like what I have to say. You know what? That was still playing on the so close to average that it didn't make a difference whether I was at the worst of the best or the best of the worst, because I still was not being the me that could see and be extraordinary like I am now. Like Joci is, even though she's been trying to get in. And I'm going to turn this back over to you, Cynthia.
Great.
And
Now, I
try.
love that. I love that you brought up kind of that shadow side, that place where we kind of play in the shadows. But I want everybody to know that, the shadow cannot be seen without the light. We always have that light there, and it's really important. Our shadows are a really beautiful thing. I actually took a couple pictures, and I'll post them up in the event page, of a shadow of me standing there, and I was going out to find my horses, and I had this beautiful view of where I live in Crawford, Colorado, where Needle Rock is. And the sun was just right behind me, and I have this very long shadow on this gorgeous day. And so I was really excited to see my shadow.
You know,
And
there's so many of us who think that that's a safe place.
mm,
And while it may be comfortable, we've all heard about, step outside of the box, step outside of your comfort zone. The shadow is a comfort zone. And while you may be able to do some amazing things, it is not where your true light fully shines. Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, where your light is in complete shining, there is no shadow, right? You're standing like at 12 o'clock noon with the sun straight over you, and you look around and there is no shadow. That's when you know that you are fully and completely present, performing, and moving forward. Now, even if you keep in mind that the sun and the earth are moving, and there's only a certain period of time where there is no shadow from a physical stance. Um, why can't you live in that always? Why can't you be in the glory? Why would you not want to live your life to the fullest? And it doesn't even have to be that your circumstances are that your heart is that, and that is what you're projecting out. And I remember a story of a homeless man. And this man was one who went around in the homeless community. And the biggest thing on his mind was serving those who he was in community with. And in serving those who he was in community with, he was able to be the light that walked amongst the shadows, helping them to see their own light. He brought so much joy to other people's lives that they began to see their own strengths and the beauty in themselves. And you figure, how could somebody who's homeless even conceive of that? That's the beauty of knowing this conscious living, this consciousness that blends, that is in alignment with the subconscious belief that you may not have, the $1 million, or, whatever you were conditioned to believe said that you were successful. Yet your heart, the things that you're doing in the world, who you are in the world, truly reflect the light that is shining so that others can see their own light. And my voice is such that I could go on and on, but I want to just, share one more thing with you while we're trying to find Joci here. I don't know what's happened to
She's in
her.
the light. She's so bright we can't see her. You know, you're shining away. She's probably right here.
Hello.
And she is this woman, Joci James, that we had on, and then she's dropped off if you're coming in and joining us a little late here, but she is such a hoot, and we just have so much fun with her because her view of the world and how, you know, where she's come from, where she is today, she brings so much laughter and humor in, and that's part of the thriving that happens in our life, and getting into that humor. You know, that's what really got Lynn and I really involved in working with her, because we need more of that in the world, and we'd love to see people really bring that happiness and joy into their lives, and not put it by the wayside. Yeah, bring out that light that's in our heart, that laughter, that love and consciousness, and really let our hearts and souls, everything just shine, 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 shine.
Yes. And it's so key to recognize that we are all
Speaking
here.
of,
Is she back? There she
I'm
is.
here. I tell you,
Wow.
what I found was that one of my strengths is persistence. And it comes in so handy when I'm dealing with Google. Google and my computer don't like each other. So anyway, I am here now. It's I've been around the world and back since I last talked to you.
Wow. And
yeah, well,
only you could do that around the world and back.
Yes.
yes, that was the light that was shining. We were just talking about that, and you also your sense of humor that really just lights us all up.
Well, thanks.
And you
Um,
came right in with that.
well, it just doesn't pay to fret about it. As Cynthia tells me many times, it is what it is, and it's all good. And I
That's right.
like to hear her say that. Whatever happens, it's all good. And I'm sure there was a reason. We can't always understand the reasons, but at any rate, I'll go back to my life for a second here, and it's when I think about all the things that I've done as far as careers and so forth without knowing my talents, just started reaching out there and struggling and doing the things that I really love to do, but then made careers out of them. But I really had to struggle a lot, and I'm thinking all this time, well, why does it have to be such a struggle? Well, had I known that yes, this is one of my talents and I will be good at it, then I could have relaxed a lot more and enjoyed the process. So that's one of the other reasons that I uh, try to lead folks into that arena of knowing that if you're doing what you love, then it's not work anymore, and it's not as much of a struggle. So just going through this process of the technical things has been quite a struggle for me because I lean on that crutch all the time of the fact that I wasn't born in the technical age, so I didn't grow up with it like most of you did. So I'm really at a disadvantage here. Help me out, please. And when I first started out, my husband's son tried to help me, and he'd say, "Joci, it's easy." And I'd say, yeah, you think so, because I didn't even know how to type when I started. I took typing in school, but kept getting all those wire keys all tangled up, and I'd get ink all over my hands, and I'd go through 3 bottles of whiteout trying to correct all my mistakes, and I'd throw up my hands and I'd say, I am never going to be a secretary. So I never touched a typewriter until I was like 55 again. So I had to learn all over. So, that was another thing that I persisted through because I knew that no, this is not my talent, but there are people to help you. And also, I was able to get where I wanted to go by learning how to use the internet. So that was my means to an end. And when you have enough passion for where it is you want to go, then struggling with those keys all bent together and ink all over you before you went home from school it wouldn't be quite such a struggle. But I had no idea that this learning how to type even was going to be such a great asset for me in a later life. So I look back and all of those struggles and all the things that I tried and did and persisted and worked hard to get where I was going, I call it the golden thread because it was a weave going through my life, taking me step by step and having lots of heartache and challenges, but getting through it and in my eyes, victorious, really being successful. So I look back at those ways that the universe led me in being a golden thread that wove through my life, just helping me to pull out my talents.
It's a great title for your book.
Yeah, the golden
Yeah.
thread, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. While I was gone, what did you guys come up with as far as how we are so different in our age levels and I guess our education levels, and yet how we blend together and how we are a community and how our goal is to reach out and help others to blend together and make this world blend together. I see the things on the news and I think, oh my goodness, if those people just knew what inner talents and strengths that they had, they wouldn't be fighting. They wouldn't be out hitting each other and throwing things and starting fires at night. Because I think a lot of that comes from lack of confidence and their fears and they're afraid. So the only way they know how to express themselves is to do something violent like that, starting fires and so forth.
Yes, and there is that both those sides that are going on. People are really resisting and unsure of what's happening in the world, and then we have many people who are really standing up strong to really be the light to help those people. There was a quote that I found a while back, and it was like, you know, if there's someone who's negative, that person needs more love more than you do. So just keep staying in that place of love. And as I talked about, I actually, while you were gone, Joci, I talked about the Tibetan monks and them loving their loving compassion, their compassion for their enemies, and how that helps us heal and transform our consciousness and transform our DNA. And that's what heals us, is us being compassionate for one another. And I think when we see people who are going into those places of darkness, instead of pointing the finger and blaming and saying, God, can you believe what those guys are doing? God, they're so awful.
You're
It's
cutting out, Cynthia. So,
pray for blessing.
um,
Yeah. What were you saying, Joci?
oh, you had cut out, and I was just going to pick up there. I thought you weren't going to come
Yeah.
back.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it was just, the things that are happening in the world are so, and it's been going on for centuries because I think what people are, they're afraid. They're looking so they will overcome someone else to get what they want rather than looking within themselves and what they have around them to sustain them. It's a miscommunication that they've gotten somewhere in their lifetime. And then, of course, society picks up on it, and the kids want to, they want to join whatever it is that other people are doing. So it's a cyclical thing. And
Yeah.
if we
Commonality thing.
Right. We in this movement can start, and it's happening all around. People are starting and really paying attention to what we're doing with each other and to each other. And yeah, we've had these big wars, but they started with one or two people. It had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we've gotten
as
all serious
we're
here.
kind of rounding, we're
There we are, huh?
we're kind of rounding out.
Yeah.
the show here. We're getting
Sorry,
down to
sorry, I
the
missed
top of
it.
the hour.
Just,
One thing I want to ask you, Joci, what has helped you, number one, when you had talked earlier about surviving, and what's the number one thing that helped you thrive and prepare for that, and maybe even prepare for what's coming later in life? You had the funniest, we had the funniest conversation about, preparing yourself daily for what's going to happen. And one of the, and do you remember what we were talking about and getting ready to go out? And just in case, we've always heard, if you get hit by a car, make sure you have your underwear on.
Clean
You
underwear.
ever hear that?
always being
You know,
prepared.
so
Well, I think what has happened through my lifetime is that we really have gotten to, and I keep talking about this, but we're looking at the outside of ourselves and our how we look and whether we're slim enough or what all the things that we um, take that we look at and not looking at the priorities. And I was just talking to Cynthia about dying and what we think about that maybe we should be prepared. It's like on your deathbed, you can't say, well, oh, geez, I don't have my will. You know, a lady was just telling me the other day that her brother was passing and. She knew he was going, and she said, "Do you have a will?" And he said, "No, I guess I ought to get one." Well, that's not really the time to think about it, but that's what we don't do that. And it's a preparation. From the time we're born, it's a preparation to die. But that's kind of the sad part of it. But the funny part was that I was telling Cynthia that a friend of mine back, oh, I guess in the 60s or 70s, we had, and of course women are doing it now, had to have the little buns up on our hair, the false hair. We had to wear false eyelashes every day, and sometimes that glue would get unstuck and you got one eyelash hanging up or down and one eyelash, they never were the same. They were really stupid looking. But what we were talking about was that we just couldn't go out the door without our false eyelashes. And I said to her, would you make a pact with me that if I die first, will you please see that I've got my false eyelashes on for my casket? And that to me is just the epitome of kind of the way we look at our priorities and what's really important. And like what difference would it make, if you had your lashes on or not? So that was a funny thing that Cynthia and I were talking about.
yeah, yeah. So there we go. We're coming in and wrapping it up, and I just think that we went from talking a lot about thriving. We've talked about surviving. We've talked about so many things. Consciousness, compassion, and one of the things I'm going to bring up. Consciousness literally means unity of mind, the unity that we have with one another. And this is what the heart, Adventures of the Heart is all about. It's bringing us into a heart venture with one another, a value to value relationship, something that matters. And I always say, change your value by changing what you value. And this is exactly what Joci has been talking about here. Really look into your life. Find out what it is that you truly value. Some of us, we will value a clean kitchen over having a good conversation, a relationship with our children. Not that we really think more of our clean kitchen over our relationships with our children, but sometimes actions speak louder than words. So sometimes really choose what is going to serve you, what you value the most. I value myself, my relationships with my children so that I can communicate and be able to ask them to help me to do things and stuff rather than coming in and telling them what to do and how to do it and punishing them for not doing it my way. So remember, really take a look inside your lives, look inside yourself, and find out what you truly value. Value the person, the people, yourself. Those kind of things are more valuable, and those are the things that you end up taking with you, because your heart is what's connected to every single human being, and beyond. That's what is connected. That is the oneness of all life, is love. That's what you continue to have no matter what. So that's my last words, and breathe deep into your heart and love yourself more today than you did yesterday. And so I'm going to let Joci have some final words along with my partner, Lynn Hawkins, because I know she's got some more words coming out of that voice of hers.
Joci. Joci.
Yeah, Joci, why don't you come on in, because it doesn't sound like Lynn has much of a voice left.
I don't know what's wrong with you, Lynn. You're whispering. She's been
Her.
suffering from a really bad cough and laryngitis and you name it. She's gone through the gamut. So, but she's a real trooper, and she still shows up. So we are lucky, and we love having her. And to talk about relationships and how we're coming around to elevating ourselves, and as we elevate ourselves, we elevate others so that they can make a fingerprint that will imprint everyone's life that's around them.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. I can't say anymore. I'm hurting.
I just, yeah,
Okay.
I really enjoyed
I'm
being
going to
here.
go ahead and
Sorry
wrap
I
this
had to
up.
be gone.
What was that,
I
Joci?
guess when I said I really enjoy being here, and the little bit that I've been here, but it's so apropos that when we talked about the phone ringing and no one's here, that all of a sudden my computer went out. So I guess my line was dead. I'm going to have to charge up my batteries.
Yeah, and make sure you put your eyelashes on.
Oh, that's for sure. And the thing of it
So,
is, now in applying those lashes, what I'd have to do would be I'd have to lift up about 3 layers of skin and hang over the lid to stick the glue in to, and then when I did that, then I would have to try to push the bags in, and well, it's too way too much trouble.
thank goodness those days are over, huh?
You are
Yeah.
too
So,
beautiful now to even have to think about false eyelashes.
yeah. So I'd
Yeah.
like to thank everybody for joining us today. I also want to let you know that Joci has a wonderful offer for you, because I really recommend you guys giving this woman a call. She has a free strategy session for you, a free consultation, because this woman's wisdom is just really beautiful, and I know it is there to support and help others. We really want to help bring her and to really shine her light that we talked about, that shining light that she is. She can really make a difference. Her wisdom and what she's been, has experienced in life will definitely support you if you are having some struggles, if you're just surviving and you really are ready to thrive. This is the woman who's going to really help bring out the best in you. So we're going to put the link that will end up down in the on the event page, and we'll also be able to put it on the YouTube channel in case you're watching from there. So I'll make sure that that's all set up for you. And if you go to, I just want to check in with Lynn. Were we able to get a smaller link to put up at all, Lynn?
I sent it to you in the chat.
Okay, great. I am going to take a look at that. I don't see it in this chat. Let me see here. And okay, so we'll be putting this link up for you to connect with Joci, and also on the page she has, get your series of tips for making clear choices, because we did talk about choices here too. So she has your free consultation with the Life Strengths Detective, Joci James, and that is bit.ly/JOCI STRATEGY, which is bit.ly/Joci Strategy. And again, we'll be posting that in the event page and on the YouTube channel for you guys. And take some time to get to know him. So thank you so much for joining us at the Adventures of the Heart, Building Wisdom Through Experience. This is Cynthia Gardner ONeill and my partner, Lynn Hawkins. So everybody have a great day. We love you. Mwah.